Hey all, it is Rebecca, and in today's video, I am showing you what I bought and how I built it and all that fun stuff. Jason had to work, we had a freeze coming, and I had plants that were freaking cold. So this is a $200 pop-up greenhouse that you build. It is 20 feet long, 10 feet wide, and over 6 feet high. Now this is the garden spot where it went. I already had like three, dome type garden rows done, and then I had tomatoes that I transplanted and moved from the front garden to that area, and I was like, oh my god, the tomatoes are in the way. So then I had to move the tomatoes a second time to make accommodation for for this area, because I was like, oh wow, this is definitely, I needed like a 12-foot wide, 20-foot long, but I couldn't find anything that was 12 feet wide. So I literally had to take away one of those rows that I had set up. Now, just so you know, everything on here is sped up, and this was well over 2 hours. I built most of this by myself. Jason was working. I had to get it done. Yes, I'm wearing my nightgown outside. I also have a pair of pants on and socks and my slippers and a jacket, and I'm using my jacket pockets to hold screws, and I'm trying to find the wrench that dropped. Oh wait, I don't have socks on. I just picked that up with my toes. Never mind. Anyways, it was frapping cold. It was like 40 degrees when I built this outside, and there's a lot of things I wish I had done different. And I kind of wish I had like help to do this, but I was doing everything by myself. And because Jason was in meetings trying to get a website like debugged, he couldn't come out and help because he was on basically live calls with people in other countries for freaking hours for his job, so that they could get stuff done. So as you see, I'm like laying poles out and I'm getting stuff set up, and I figured I would talk about this process. These are all like aluminum poles. They bend really easy. So there's a lot of like running back and forth. It was cold. I ended up moving some of this is filmed on my GoPro. Some of it is filmed on my actual big camera. And so you'll see that going back and forth. The lighting is going to change. The camera changes at one point because I don't know when it stops recording, because I was out there from 4 p.m. until about 9 p.m. at night. So I built this thing myself. The last like 2 or 3 screws are all Jason did. And then he helped me pick it up and move it over the garden. And then we put the shell on once it was in place. We probably should have put the shell on first and then tried to move it. That way we would have it like applied properly, but we didn't. It was kind of at an angle, and then we had to fight with it for a while, and it got dark, and I even brought my ring light out at one point because it was super dark out there trying to do it. And you'll find I sit down a lot. So I have a lot of get up and go when I first start this. And like I'm using all 4, things, legs, arms, you name it. I've got everything working to like get traction and to like maneuver things. And tell me I can't do something and watch me figure out how to do it by myself. That's the kind of person I am. Don't tell me I can't do something, because I will prove you wrong. Now, my health does stop me from doing a lot of stuff, and as you notice that I have problems getting up and down from the ground, and I can't do this whole standing up, leaning over crap because my stomach is in the way a lot of the times, and it was painful. And so there's that. But I had a good several hours to like get this worked on and whatnot, and I did my very best to build it. I mean, you figure I'm already like halfway through this build, and I mean, you can watch the times change due to the light in the sky. Now, on some of the darker footage, I did try and go and, lighten the footage and adjust the brightness and the white versus dark contrast. I tried to change a little bit of that stuff. You'll see some color editing on some of the darker clips because I had to, because there wasn't enough light. Because we have one light on the corner of the house, we have lights in the garage, but we don't have like floodlights or anything like that. Not like at my dad's house where like you flip a switch and the entire driveway is lit up. We don't have that here. Would I like to have that? I would. I'd like to have lights on all four corners of the house so that are motion activated, and just so that we have some better visibility and stuff at night. Unlike all the neighbors around us though, we do not put lights on. We put lights on outside the front door and the back door during like the time that we are up after dark, and then we flip them off when we go to bed. Like, or when Jason goes to bed, he'll flip them off, and then of course you can tell I'm still up because my office light is still on. You know, because the neighbor said something one time about, you know, the fact that, oh yeah, you always have that one room with the light on. I'm like, oh, that's my office. That's probably me. Anyways, so the neighbors do pay attention to like what lights are on and what lights are off. And oh, that's cool. You can see all the little yard lights light up. I didn't even realize that. The big light just came on. That's part of that 4-pack that I just bought that are solar, because people keep running over our freaking driveway lights. Like, how the hell do you run over someone's yard light and then just fucking drive off? Bunch of heathens. Anyways, so this is I'm working on the 4th segment. I think there's 6 total if I remember correctly. I'd have to go back and look at the pictures, and I built this upside down. This is, God, I should have probably said that first because I probably got a bunch of people confused. This is upside down. I did this upside down because I knew alone I wouldn't have been able to build it right side up by myself. I had to do this upside down and then flip it over because, you know, I am woman. Hear me roar. Roar. Because, like, you have to work with what you've got. And when you have physical disabilities that keep you from doing certain things due to lack of strength, lack of inability to stand up, you're by yourself, so you're trying to do everything that you can by yourself. There's only so much you can do without having to work smarter, not harder. And people don't understand when I say that there are certain ways that you can do things in life to make life easier. Like, literally, anybody else probably would have tried to build this right side up by themselves, or had another person with them to help hold poles and, you know, screw stuff in and whatever. So you have a little bit of teamwork, or you have somebody else there to hold stuff and stabilize things for you. I did not. So in order to stop the things, like, I tried to build it right side up at first, and I tried to put the poles together, and I have to sneeze 1 second. Sorry, my allergies are kicking my butt today. I keep sneezing. Like, I was on the phone with a customer earlier, and I had to pause or mute myself so I could sneeze and then get back to my call. And then I was talking to my supervisor at one point, and I had to mute myself just so I could cough because, you know, cats. There I am flipping it over. There you go. Yes, it looks a little drunk. But again, I'm working with what I have to work with. And then here's the bracing rods. And then I found out this didn't have all the pieces, or it had extra pieces. So instead of having those bottom rows, the bottom little legs that go down, those are like one number. That's a number 3. But the middle bracing row is like the very first one's a number 4. And then you have a 5, and a 5. And then the ones that go diagonal, that's an 11 and a 10. So on the one side, there's a 4, a 5, a 5, and a 5. On the other side, because I was missing a 5, but I had a 6, I had to modify how this was built because I have a 4, a 5, a 5, and a 6. So then I was like, okay, I have these extra like middle pieces. You can see them in the box. And I was like, oh, these would be great because those are 7 and 8. That would be fantastic because then I could do like bracing in the middle because you've got one on either end and then you've got the poles along the side. Yeah, that wasn't my luck because those are complete outies. There's no innie. That's why I just took the piece over there. If it was a 7 and an 8, then I could have used them in the center to like give this some extra bracing. But alas, I had 2 7s and they were both outies and I needed an outie and an innie. And these are the ones with those hateful little pop button things that you have to push in and then slide it inside something else, and then the button releases to lock it in place, and then of course you screw the other sides to the frame. So that was one of the issues. And of course, I read the reviews on this before I bought it. I saw several other people had mentioned, getting like one or two missing pieces or one or two extra pieces. So I did have two poles that were incorrect, or I should say one pole that was incorrect, and then an extra pair of poles, but I was missing its mate. And from what I read the comments on, it said that they did not ship out the extra pieces to the other people that were missing parts, which kind of sucks if you ask me. You spend $200+ on this thing and it doesn't have all the pieces? That's not good. So I was aware of the issues. This was supposed to be a local US brand that was building these, and now the listing is no longer available to be purchased on the website. And if you look, it recommends for you to go buy the same exact thing, same exact photos from like 15 other sellers that have Chinese names that come from other countries. And it's like, so that was odd, because I went and I looked at the company's page and it said that they were a US based like camping type company. They had like all these different tents and sleeping bags and like off-grid kind of feature things. And then they had this. And I'm like, okay, well, this, if this is what they do, why are they selling a greenhouse thing if they sell like camping equipment? This didn't make sense. But they had like other off-grid kind of things listed on their seller page on Amazon. So I was like, okay, maybe this is just one of those things that they sell. So I had to stop again for a second, and I went and I looked. The seller's store has also changed names. So it's not even the same name on the seller page that was there before. And now they're selling like bar stools and like therapy swings for kids and outdoor like mosquito netting for your patio. And then they've got the greenhouse on here, but it's like they're selling like stand mixers and all these like other weird things now that they didn't have before. So that's odd, because this is no longer being sold by them. It says it's out of stock. And now the other greenhouses that are similar to it are like $30 more than what I paid for this one. And they're starting at like $250. So that gives you an idea of what I spent on this. And they're all the same, 26 by 10 by 7. The one I bought was 26 by 10 by 6.6 feet. Anyways, so diatribe. See, look, there's a Jason. He came out. I've got it, as you can see, most of the way done. I've got everything put in place. I've got the one side completed. I've got that last side to do, and that's the fuck it. He literally waits until I'm 90% done, and then he comes out, and I'm like, go away, I've got it. And then finally, towards the very last pole, I was like, I ain't got it. You got to do it. He's like, that's fine. That's why I came out, because I'm finally done. And then we talk about it after he gets done, and then he goes back in and goes back to work. I'm like, wait a minute, I thought you were done with work. He's like, no, I was just taking a break. I'm like, oh my God, you didn't tell me you still had to work. So he ended up having to go back to work after helping me. But as you can see, at this point, I had been doing this for hours. Even though it's only been like 14 minutes for you, it's been like 3 hours for me at this point, and I was exhausted. I could barely like get up and down anymore. I was getting up and down slower every time, trying to lift the thing. I'm lifting it up and then putting my foot underneath of it to like keep it elevated so I could get things like tightened without bashing my knuckles on the asphalt driveway. Look at me crab walking. You are in pain when you can't even walk straight, and trying to just get up and down to move from one section to the other was damn near impossible for me. Like, I was in so much pain after building this thing. I went and I sat in the shower and just sobbed. I was like, okay, I can't do this. Dang, my legs look white from this angle. Holy cow. Anyways, so This process was definitely one of those, it would have been better built during the day, for one. Two, better planning on the cameras and lighting and that kind of stuff probably would have been a little bit better to do. I mean, I worked until like 4, so I couldn't just up and like go do it when it was coming, because I had a set schedule. I was scheduled to work till a specific time, and then as soon as I got off of work, I was then able to come out and build this. Plus, I had to wait for it to arrive. So it was supposed to be here on like a Monday, and I think it arrived like 2 days late on a Wednesday. You know, Amazon Prime, and then it was shipped from the seller, so you never know. But then I had to work that day, and I picked my work like a week in advance. So this week I was just picking my schedule for the week after next. So it's just one of those things that I was scheduled to work and I couldn't get out of it. But then I got off work at like 4, and this didn't arrive until like 4:30. So I didn't start until like 4:30 in the afternoon. And there it is. Thankfully, Jason didn't crack us. You know, he wasn't showing us his moon that night. Normally his pants, I have to like put a leaf or a emoji or something over his behind because he's constantly showing his crack to everybody. I guess he thinks it's awesome or something and he just wants to share it. But, you know, we try not to share cracks on this channel here. And just in case you see this 2 different places, I am going to upload it on both channels because I figured this was an interesting process to watch me do all of this stuff. It was a lot of work. I think as a single person, it is doable depending on what your physical disabilities are and if you have them. There was a few things that I couldn't do due to the fact that it took Jason to come out and do the last little bit because of the fact that one of the poles was like bent weird, or it didn't have enough accommodation to get it lined up right. I mean, here you see I'm literally on my knees bending over like backwards trying to look at this and trying to get the screw lined up with that very last flipping hole. And the reason for the issue was the fact that it wasn't complete. I was missing parts. I didn't have the right pole size for the other side, so it threw off the build by like 3 inches. And you would think with something this size it wouldn't be that big of a discrepancy, but there was. When you try and build something, that's why they always say measure twice, cut once, because you can't, like, if you leave too much wood when you're like, say you're framing a house and you cut your 2x4 just a little bit too long, you can go shave off another little bit of it, but you can't put the shit back. So yeah, again, we should have like put the tarp thingy over it before moving it up there, but it is what it is. And then I have to go move my poor tomato to make sure all her arms and legs and stuff were inside the seats and all the, you know, your airplane rules. So there's that. But then I don't know, it was a process, and had I had all the correct pieces, it would have been one thing. Had I been able to wait and complain about not having all the right pieces, then that would have been one thing. But the temperatures dropped to like 4 freaking degrees in Georgia, and so I did everything I could to protect my plants. And this little thing comes with 4 itty bitty little wimpy tent stakes. So Jason had to go out when my cousin was here for Yule to Lowe's to get like heavy duty tent stakes to drive into the ground to hold the bottom of the frame, because we had a really nasty windstorm come through, and I figured, okay, this is in the tree area, this should be protected on like 3 sides. Yeah, I was completely freaking wrong on that. But anyways, that first row on the left hand side was completely uncovered, so it didn't keep it protected well enough from the elements. And my first row, like, all my sunflowers are dead, all the green beans are dead, the strawberries are having a heyday, but like my calendula is basically toast. Like, everything on that first row, I am just praying that it comes back to life. And we still have some pretty cold temperatures. Like, it is 34 degrees outside right now, and I'm editing this on January 26th. Now, if I go back and look and see when I initially filmed this, it'll take me a second to pull up because I have the photos of the still photos that I took that day, because, you know, progress. And I was posting it on social media as I was going. Here's some of the finished photos of the event. It looks like I built it December 19th, and then Mary came over on the 23rd. So I got this in December 19th. The first picture I took was at 16:54 p.m. So that's 4:54 p.m. our time, because I think it didn't arrive until like, I think 4:30. So inside the greenhouse, we ended up putting a tarp, and then that still wasn't enough. So we ended up having to buy some heat lamps, and the heat lamps, everybody was sold out. It was so frapping cold. Every store was sold out of like temporary heating things and little heaters and heat lamps, and, you know, because people were using them for their chickens. And so we had to send Jason out to get what he could, and like 220 watt bulbs, and then we ended up ordering ceramic lights to do heating that way. And I had like my holiday lights, my Halloween lights, and my one string of Christmas lights over the plants. So I was still doing like the Christmas lights and stuff underneath on the rows in between to keep like the roots warm. And then I would put like sheets over that, and then we put the freaking tarp on top of that, and then I put like sleeping bags on stuff, trying to keep these poor plants warm. And I tell you what, and you can see right here in this last photo that we ended up having to use, we had a tree fall, and we still haven't been able to cut it up because we don't have a chainsaw yet, and that costs several $100s that we just don't have in the budget right now. So it's going to be broken wood pieces in the yard for a while. They're just out of the way. But we're using those to hold down the sides of the greenhouse, because this thing, even with it staked into the ground now, we're still worried that the wind is just going to come and pick it up and take off with it. The other thing is we had some really nasty tornadoes recently run through our town, and we had some like dust devils and stuff run through the woods. So it is what it is. But anyways, this was an experience. It was a $200+ greenhouse that I bought off of Amazon. It was 20 feet long, 10 feet wide, and 6.6 feet, or 6 feet 6 inches tall on the inside. It says greenhouses for outside walk-in greenhouse garden plant plastic warm house upgrade. Portable, large, heavy-duty, galvanized steel frame, 6 vent screen window, 2 dual zipper mesh doors. And yes, that is the flipping title. And it says it is out of stock. And it says the dimensions themselves are 66.9 by 16.1 by 8.1 inches. Which also doesn't match. So, you know, it is what it is. It's one of those things that you buy and it comes from probably China. And, I mean, the instruction booklet was only photos. That's it. There was no details on here at all. You just had to look at what direction they had the screw head facing in order to figure out what direction you were supposed to screw things in. It literally was a follow by picture kind of thing. So if you guys have any questions, leave them in the comment section down below. I did speed this up. Most of the footage is ×6, so there's that. And the photos are spaced out so that you guys can see them. And hopefully you guys enjoyed. Thank you for watching. If you made it this far, leave me some sort of plant emoji in the comment section. And I will talk to you guys later. Have a fantabulous day or night wherever you are.